So chapter 3 is here, and wow, was it different to the prior 2 episodes of the book of Boba Fett, to say the very least. But let's not say the least, let's say the most, and give my full review of this fantastic, in my opinion, episode. So we start off with Boba and ourselves learning about Mos Espa, which is very cool in my opinion, because we're getting some much needed information for us and information needed for Boba Fett, so I really like that segment. A workman from Mos Espa comes in complaining about like a gang stealing his water because he is a watermonger, and Boba leaves immediately to go and sort out this gang. I like how Boba is adapting to his role as the daimyo of Mos Espa, and in this episode you definitely see him trying to rule Mos Espa more than you did in the last 2, so I like that. But not only this, he also continues his intentions of how he wants to rule, being ruling with respect, because when he gets to this gang, after stopping the quarrel between the watermonger and the gang by demanding that the watermonger lowers his prices so they can actually afford his water rather than having to steal it, which the monger then accepts, showing that Boba is then gaining his respect. Boba recruits the gang of like semi-droid, semi-human people to his cause, to his forces, to give them work basically, because they moan about not having any. I thought this is really good. Like I said, it shows that Boba is still keeping his intentions of how he wants to rule, because in episode 1, he also spared the Comorians from punishment and had them work for him instead, and instead of punishing this gang, he has them work for him instead. This just proves that although Boba is adapting to his role as the daimyo, he is adapting for the better, and I really liked Boba in this episode. Anyway, he heads back to his Polynesian spa, aka his Bacta tank, and we obviously go into a flashback scene, and we see him go to confront the Pikes, saying that they should be paying him and the Tuscans for protection on the Dune Sea rather than the biker gang, but the Pikes send him away because at the moment they are still paying the biker gang, and Boba says that he will deal with them, but it appears that the biker gang dealt with the Tuscans, because when Boba gets back, they're all dead, and we know it was them because they leave their symbol that we saw in episode 1 when they were raiding the moisture farm. Now this basically completely ruins my theory of the Tusken Raiders coming to save Boba in some big battle in the final episode, like I said in this video. But maybe one of them is still alive? I don't know, that's probably reaching, but I mean, at least it like gives closure to the flashback story, I guess. But I was so shocked by this. I really didn't think they were going to kill off all the Tusken Raiders. Anyway, next Boba is awoken from his dream by his sleep paralysis monster, aka Black Krrsantan. He's managed to infiltrate Jabba's palace, make his way to Boba's Bacta tank, and rip him out of it. And this really did shock me, because we only just got shown Black Krrsantan, and now he's doing exactly what he was supposed to do in this series, go up against Boba. Well, what he was supposed to do in this series as far as we are aware so far, because this is exactly what the Hutts hired him to do. They did literally warn Boba saying sleep lightly or something like that. But anyway, the fight scene that happens I think was clever, because it didn't answer the question of who would win in a fight, Boba or Krrsantan, because Boba was naked nearly. He didn't have any of his armor or any of his weapons, so he was at a clear disadvantage, because any human in Star Wars is weaker than any Wookiee, as long as it's not like, I don't know, Gungi, because he's a child. He might even be stronger than the average human. Who knows? Anyway, once again, like the Comorian guards in episode 1, the people that Boba gives a chance repay him in that exact same episode, and the cyborg gang, I'm going to call them, come to his aid and end up trying to fight Black Krrsantan. Now, they don't exactly beat him, but the Comorian guards show up as well. Krrsantan tackles them, and with a bit of intelligence from Fennec, they manage to put Black Krrsantan in the Rancor pit. Now, it would be interesting to see him actually fight a Rancor if there was one in there, because we saw Wrecker go up against Muchi, a baby Rancor, and he did pretty well, but maybe another time. Also, can we quickly mention how many punches Boba took from Krrsantan and stayed conscious the whole time? Very impressive. The Hutts come to apologize for what they done to Boba, being sending Krrsantan to assassinate him, and they also mention that they have to leave because the territory that they wanted from Boba, that Boba owns, was promised by the mayor to another syndicate, which we learn to be the Pike Syndicate. Now, I think that the Hutt twins are more powerful and have like more forces than just the Pike Syndicate alone, which is why I think that the Pike Syndicate are still connected to Crimson Dawn, which is why the Hutts are kind of scared of them, because like I said, I don't think the Pikes are powerful enough to scare off the Hutts to make them want to leave. I think it's Crimson Dawn behind this, and I think Qi'ra is leading them, and this would be incredible to see. I really do hope we see her in the series. They then also gift Boba a Rancor, and I really thought this was going to be Muchi, because why wouldn't it be Muchi? but apparently it's not Moochie. They haven't said that yet. Maybe it still is, but I don't think it is. And Boba also lets krrsantan go, saying no hard feelings, it's just business, and even gives him a bit of advice, which just shows they are acknowledging their non-hostile past in the comics. You know, they're just bounty hunters, or, well, they were. And I actually really like this, and it kind of destroys my other theory that krrsantan was going to go up against Boba in like the final episode, in a part of that big battle that I also said the Tuskens would arrive in. Because if anything, if they were on good or bad terms, it's probably closer to good than bad now, because it was just a job, and Boba knows this. Anyway, following this, we learn a bunch about the Rancor, that it's like an emotional species, it can get depressed, it can love its owner, it gets attached to the first person it sees, and that the witches of Dathomir, being the Night Sisters, rode them in the past. Now, I really like the Night Sisters, I really like Dathomir, it's one of my favourite planets, so it getting a mention here was really nice to see. And Boba says that he wants to learn to ride it, and that is something that I really want to see. Boba riding a Rancor. Tell me that wouldn't be incredible, because if you say that you think that, I would not believe that you believe that. Anyways, Boba and Fennec go to visit the mayor after they get told that he's not available for 20 days, showing that Boba doesn't really respect the mayor, which is kind of like how it should be, as Boba is the one in charge. He shouldn't follow the rules of the one below him, because Boba is the one that should be making the rules, again showing his adaptation and growth into his role as the daimyo. I mean, he does mention in episode 2 that you are in charge because I let you be. The major domo of the mayor tries to run because the mayor isn't there, and we get a very Star Wars Rebels kind of speeder bike chase with the cyborg gang chasing down the major domo, and we even see some Meilu run, the fruit from the Rebels series, in this chase scene, which I really appreciated that. And in the chase scene, we also see a protocol droid just roaming about by itself. And I'd love if this becomes Boba's protocol droid, because in episode 1, he mentioned that he needs one. So yeah, this chase scene was decent, but the speeders themselves did look like, you know, mopeds, to be honest. Like, they weren't exactly very impressive. But that's a pretty minor complaint. Like, it was a cool chase scene. It's just, we've definitely seen some better looking and faster looking speeders in Star Wars, but maybe that's just symbolic of how Boba's not quite at the top of the game yet, and by the end of the series maybe he has some high quality speeders. Anyway, once the major domo crashes, Boba flies in, and the major domo confesses immediately that the mayor is working with the Pikes. And I mentioned earlier what I think about them. Boba ends this episode saying, "Then we will be ready," in regards to a war potentially starting between the mayor and the Pikes, and Boba and his lot. And this tells me that Boba's going to be increasing his forces, his side of the war, potentially going out and getting people on his side, which is something that I spoke about in this video up here, and I mentioned a couple people that I now think definitely could show up in this video, so go and check that out if you haven't seen it already. I highly recommend. But yeah, this episode did a really good job in hyping me up for the rest of the series, in my opinion. I thought it was a solid episode. I've been seeing a lot of people saying it's the weakest one so far. I don't know if I agree with that, but even if I do, I think all of them have been pretty good. I think this is definitely still pretty good like the other ones were. And yeah, like I said, it did a great job in setting up the rest of the series, which I'm now even more hyped for. So with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, please do leave a like on it, subscribe for some more Star Wars content, specifically the Book of Boba Fett as of right now. And yeah, thank you for watching. Goodbye.